Last Sunday we tried to talk about the question, is there a God? And you probably remember the conclusion we came to, that the existence of a God of some kind is the most plausible and the most satisfactory explanation of the existence of our world, the existence of ourselves, the order and design of the universe, and the presence in us of conscience and a sense of moral obligation to live better than we're doing. In other words, really, we came to the same conclusion, you remember, as that great giant of our own age, Einstein, who said, "My religion consists of a humble admiration of the illimitable superior spirit who reveals himself in the slight details we are able to perceive with our frail and feeble minds. That deeply emotional conviction of the presence of a superior reasoning power which is revealed in the incomprehensible universe forms my idea of God." And we felt, yes, Einstein's right. If you let your mind work in an ordinary cause and effect kind of logical way, the way it normally operates in everyday life, then you'll conclude that there is a supreme being of some kind. And actually, most of us, I think, agree with that, loved ones. I think most people in the world really deep down feel the same way as, of all people, even Mao Zedong, you remember, in his conversation with Henry Kissinger. Most people feel, even like Mao, that there is somewhere a supreme being to whom we will have to give account after this life is over. Where we differ is what that supreme being is like. That's where we have trouble. Most of us believe there is a supreme being of some kind, but in a way, you must agree that's not the big issue. Because if that supreme being is a cruel tyrant, then that will greatly affect the way we live in this life. If that supreme being is a kindly father, that will affect greatly the way we live in this life. So the big issue is not so much even, is there a God? It's very hard to explain the universe apart from that. But the real question is, what is he like? What is the supreme being like? I'd ask you to look with me at some of the information that our forefathers down through the centuries have passed on to us about their experiences of the supreme being. Here's one that was written 900 BC. It's one of the most ancient books we have. And here is part of what this person says about the supreme being. Zeus now addressed the immortals. "What a lamentable thing it is that men should blame the gods and regard us as the source of their troubles, when it is their own wickedness that brings them sufferings worse than any which destiny allots them." So that person obviously said, 900 BC, God, Zeus, talks to some other gods and says, "Why do men blame us for all the misfortunes that they suffer?" And he laments that fact. Do you know what your reaction is? You say, "But wait a minute. That may be one of the oldest Greek books that we have available. It may have been written in 900 BC, but this is the Odyssey by Homer. And Homer was not describing anything real when he wrote this Odyssey. It's in fact a novel about the wanderings of Odysseus after the sack of Troy. And Homer certainly has taken a basic history, but he has then added to it myths and imaginary stories of all kinds. And certainly by reading Homer's Odyssey, you can find out what he and his contemporaries thought the Supreme Being was like. You can tell what his people and his friends thought, but you can't say that he was describing facts. All he was doing was giving his idea of what the Supreme Being might be like through the words of Odysseus. In other words, it's foolishness, you know, to take what is a novel and treat it as if it is actual fact. And of course, all we have here in books like Homer's Odyssey are the author's own imaginary ideas of what God is like.